Southeast Asia, the global South, West Asia,
Right.
all of Asia actually flows into.
Very, very interesting point raised by you over there. In fact, let's get in some breaking inputs that is coming in regarding the West Asia war as well, because this visit comes right against the backdrop of the West Asia war, the energy crisis that it has in fact started. So, as Rubio is set to meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has spoken by phone with his Omani counterpart Badr Ab Saudi. Now, amid a flurry of diplomatic activity reported on Friday evening that has continued this morning, as efforts are made to reach a peace deal between Tehran and Washington. The two foreign ministers discussed the latest regional developments and the ongoing diplomatic efforts to prevent escalation of tensions and end the war, exchanging views and opinions. Ambassador, if I can come to you on this, this is a highly important visit, even if we look at it in isolation. But if we look at the geopolitical context, it's come during a war that Washington is in fact still fighting. There seems to be a collapse of the ceasefire. Anything can happen at any moment. For now, Ambassador, like you mentioned, can India in fact repair those ties that have been strained over the past 6 to 7 months? Because even though Marco Rubio has been sent over here with a mission of increasing trade, selling more energy to India, do you believe that India can let all those tariffs, all those sanctions that were put on a whim on a country like ours, can India actually, ignore that?
Shivani, if we look at the history of our relations with US, there has been blow cold and blow hot. Americans, sometimes become very warm and they agree to collaborate in most issues. And then all of a sudden they will, try to put ice on the entire thing and they will go and become cozy with Pakistan. So this has been seen in many, many times. We have seen this during the nuclear explosion in 98. They put heavy sanctions on India. And then we had to work very hard to get out of those sanctions. And then slowly our relationship started building up. And it was building up also during the first, tenure of President Trump. But after last year in June, all of a sudden Trump took a U-turn and then again started putting cold water on India. First he inviting the Hasim Munir and then putting an supplementary tariff on India and then putting curbs on visas for students and things like that. And then still not finalizing the trade agreement so far. So all these things actually speak about unreliability of US. And I agree with some of my other colleagues that we have to be very careful in dealing with the US. Our relations, for example, with Russia are absolutely on firm grounds. There is absolute reliability. What we agree, they perform. They agree, they commit. Their performance. They transfer technology. They encourage our Atmanirbhar Bharat. On the other hand, the US is in the selling mode. That is absolutely true. They have been very reluctant to transfer technology in critical areas, particularly when it comes to developing engine for our fighter aircrafts. They promised, GE promised they will deliver. They have not done so. Similarly, they have also not delivered on these helicopters and some other issues. On the contrary, they are helping Pakistan now in repairing and upgrading their F-16. They have given, I think, $400 million recently for upgradation of F-16. And they have also, in fact, encouraged Pakistan in variety of ways, using them as, facilitator for Iran thing. They have also praised them. Trump has met Shehbaz Sharif many times and they have praised them each other very, very, so kind of like, you see like a very, very close ties. So all these things really don't go well The same Trump who was telling Pakistan that it's a betrayal, it's a state which has always betrayed us. We have paid them $4 billion and they have repaid in betrayal. This is what he said in his X that time, the Twitter that time in the Twitter message. And then he again goes back and uses them for this purpose. And particularly knowing that Pakistan is deeply rooted in international terrorism and especially against India. So I think this has to be very well clarified to Marco Rubio by our authorities that this kind of blow hot and blow
Right,
cold situation is not good for a country like India. If you want
right.
to be a reliable partner, be reliable and don't betray us at the time when we need you.
Absolutely. Ambassador, in fact, we have some more breaking news coming our way as tensions continue to rise across West Asia. Iran and Pakistan have stepped up high-level diplomatic engagement amid fears of further military escalation involving the United States and the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi met Pakistan Army Chief General Asim Munir in Tehran, where both the sides exchanged views on the deteriorating regional security situation and the ongoing Iran conflict. According to Iran's Tasnim news agency, the discussions extended late into Friday night and focused on diplomatic efforts aimed at preventing a broader regional crisis. Stability and security across West Asia were also central themes during the talks. General Dwivedi, if I can get you back into this discussion and on this very particular point, US obviously is looking to, we might say mend or repair their ties with India, which has seen some sour days over the past 6 to 7 months. But we have seen during those 6 or 7 months, Washington has been really cozying up to, or Islamabad has been cozying up to, Washington over the same duration and period of time. And this is something that obviously India will be looking at because it comes close on the heels. We've just completed 1 year of the Pahalgam terror attacks. We know that it was sponsored by Pak-based terrorists, and cross-border terrorism and support for it is something that India has always been batting for. And that is something that Pakistan has always been, washing off its hands. General Dwivedi, I want to understand, do you think that Marco Rubio or Washington may also look at, India as the next negotiator for Iran war also? Because Pakistan seems to, have failed its role as a mediator.
Well, Shivani, first and foremost, I think the reality is that India's and American strategic interest do not wholly converge. There are differences, like America doesn't see Pakistan through Indian lens. They have their own interest. And Pakistan is a very important country, both for China and America, because its location is strategic location. Geopolitically, it's right neighboring Afghanistan, it neighbors Iran, it has a very high hold in Middle East, or West Asia, because you see it is now a defense partner with Saudi Arabia. The point is that we have to sort of accept that American interest in Pakistan is not through India's bifocal lens. The second point is that why America, keeps stepping back or raising the tempo and bringing it down, because it depends upon the interest. If you look at the American security policy of 2025, it clearly says that China is the main adversary, but we have to manage China. At the same time, it also indicates that Quad is very important for the Indo-Pacific. So each country tries to leverage its own interest, and so also America, they leverage India where their interests are, and they leverage other countries, Shivani, where their interest lies. But I like to make two very important subtle points. Well, Pakistan at this time is is in sweet spot because it has excellent relation with China. It is the all-weather ally. It has excellent relation with America, and so also with the West Asian countries. So I think right at the moment, possibly they are very well placed to be a mediator because it has the backing of China, it
Right.
has the backing of America. And second point, India need to wait and watch, because every time I keep telling people, why do we keep comparing ourselves with Pakistan? Let it be alone. We have our own status, we have our own strength, and we should leverage them and not keep getting back to Pakistan and do Indo-Pakistan, by bullying. And my last point is, you see, strategic relations, diplomacy, very dynamic. And there is a high tide, there is a low tide. Now this is time to mend our relations. See where the convergence is with America. We have convergence on energy. We are only importing about 500,000 barrel oil, whereas from Russia we are importing about 2 million barrels of oil. So we can diversify. We should tap technology because no one is going to give us technology. After China is our enemy and adversary, do you think they are going to part with technology? We have no option. We must exploit American AI technology. We must exploit Europe technology-wise. Must diversify our bilateral and multilateral relations. At the end of the day, Shivani, diplomacy is all about interest. There are no permanent friends. There are no permanent enemies. You have to play by the ear. You have to play how the winds blow. So that's what India must accept, that there's nothing permanent in the diplomatic arena.
Okay,
Shivani.
sir, last 30 seconds on your concluding remarks before I go to the other guests as well. On the Marco Rubio visit to India.
Whom is it for?
Yes, General, you.
Yes, I think I would say that the visit is very important. It's time to reset our ties. It's time to also remove certain misconceptions and misunderstandings. On the whole, Shivani, in America is a very important country for us, and so also India is very important for America. I think we need to converge and narrow down our differences, and this is the ideal time to do that, Shivani.
All right. In fact, let me also rope in Shruti Das Gupta. Ma'am, I want to understand from your perspective as well, what should be the focus for India? Marco Rubio is here. He's here for 4 days. A lot on the agenda. But what should India actually focus on?
Well, right now I think, are focusing on how we can get the best possible deal for our Venezuelan oil to secure our energy security as of now. I believe we've got a discounted price, and we are also hoping to increase, as my other panelists have said, the American oil inflow towards India, so that we have a larger basket, and no matter which nation undergoes what internal external churn, we do not face a similar situation as we did in the last 60 days, where most of our oil was coming in from the Middle East. And we also know that the Middle East situation is not, even though the war gets resolved, the situation would remain so for the next coming at least 2 to 3 years. So we are trying to ensure for the next 2 to 3 years that our energy security is actually secured. So that should be one of our concerns. The other is going to be defense tech and its transfer. That is something that we are looking at. In terms of diaspora level, I do believe that they must be looking into how they can get special sign-offs against the H-1Bs and the green card applications, etc., because these are the few of the things that do impact a large amount of Indian diaspora over there. And the recent layoffs, etc., have created a wave from there. The fourth and most important would be to have an analysis of how US and India can ensure the subcontinent's peace, because you see Nepal's not yet a settled question. There's lots brewing there. Bangladesh itself is brewing. We have a Myanmar situation still. So there is a subcontinent level situation that is happening, where both, I believe the push and pull is between USA and China, and it in turn impacts India's internal security. So these are at least 4 important points that we will be looking into.
All right. Mr. Sardana, I believe, like you've mentioned, is it beneficial for us to look towards US energy, to look towards US oil or Venezuelan oil, which US in turn controls? Is it beneficial for us to look at expanding or reducing our trade surplus that we currently have, sir? Your closing comments on this.
See, India must understand how to evaluate the leverage of India on US. Don't try to project to the world that we are great friends and we are time-tested friend, because this will create a problem with China, Russia and other equations which we have in the world. Everyone is watching that what is the next move of America. And our move with Israel and America will be watched very closely in diplomatic world. Now issue is My concern is that America is looking for India as a market. This is a leverage India has. So don't try to be soft, be a hard bargainer with America. They are not here for charity. They are here for a business. America never does charity. Even in charity, you have to count your fingers. Whether giving charity, they are taking out your fingers or not. You have to be extremely careful as a country. So my submission will be to the Honorable Prime Minister and the concerned officers and ministers, see that where India can leverage, have a negotiation on bilateral basis on equal footing. America also badly needs India. We are not that backward. We have a huge market, geostrategic positioning. We have our internal technologies developing. We have our own defense industry emerging. Our local R&D will take place. Other investments should come into India beyond America as well. We have to be on equal footing as far as possible.
Absolutely.
But dependency on America at the cost of friendship with, I will say, China, Russia, or any other country will not be appreciated in today's geopolitics.
All right.
So we have to understand our leverage, exploit it the way America exploits against India. So don't be under pressure.
We should use US's playbook when we are dealing with the United States. All right, I thank all my guests. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much, Ambassador Gupta, General Dwivedi, Shruti Das Gupta, and Mr. Sardana for your valuable perspective. With that, viewers, we are getting to